Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So it's draft time. Last night on SmackDown was night one of the WWE Draft. And then today on something called the SmackDown Lowdown on Peacock, they did a bunch more draft picks as well. We're going to talk about all of them. What was good, what was bad, what was questionable, what was boring, what was exciting. First up, let's start with SmackDown and who they got. Of course, SmackDown chose first because it was their show, I guess. And then Raw, I think, is going to have the first pick on Monday for night two. But here's SmackDown. This is who SmackDown got. Of course, with the number one pick, they got the Bloodline. Now, this is kind of interesting because it had been teased that tag teams and factions could be drafted apart. They didn't do that. Instead, they kept factions and tag teams together. So that's why the Bloodline, the official Bloodline, which now is just Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman, were drafted number one. This is a no-brainer. Whoever got the number one pick was going to get Roman Reigns. I kind of figured that this was going to be the case anyways, because what is it? Raw picks first are going to take like Cody Rhodes. That's actually who they did get. Of course, this is sort of a no-brainer pick. Not really a lot to say here, except for it creates some intrigue as to where the Usos are going to go, given that they lost the tag team match against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens last night. Also, going to SmackDown, Bianca Belair. I think this pick is fine. You know, it's probably going to offer up a bunch more matchups, and Bianca Belair, they're obviously pushing as their top female star in WWE. They want her to be sort of like the next Becky Lynch within a couple of years, where she is just sort of above everything. That's why she's going on this huge win streak with her title. The thing is, this is going to lead to a title swap. If you guys remember the last title swap they did, it didn't go too well. It was Becky Lynch and Charlotte, and they seemingly didn't actually like each other, so they just started throwing the titles at each other. It was really awkward. I expect something a lot different between Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. They'll probably be on the same page. And I think WWE just wants them, because I think WWE views them as their top two women's stars heading into the future over the next 10 years or so. Having them sort of face off in sort of an unofficial way before they can actually get into a feud at some point, which I'd imagine maybe it'd end up being a WrestleMania next year somehow, some way. So yeah, they're going to do a title swap thing. Not a huge fan of the title swap, but it is what it is. Also, of course, Bianca Belair goes to SmackDown. Her husband has to follow. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins staying together as Street Profits. I was really hoping that they would split up the Street Profits in the draft. I want to see Montez Ford go solo, and they strap a rocket booster to his back and see him hit the stratosphere. I think that dude's got a lot of potential to be a big main event star on his own. Angelo Dawkins could be too. What do I know? Also heading to SmackDown, Edge. Little humiliating for Edge, given that he was the guy that got stacked by Roman Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania a couple of years back. Him and Bryan Danielson got stacked by the Tribal Chief. So now Edge is heading to SmackDown. But given that Rhea Ripley's going to be on Raw, the rest of Judgment Day is probably going to be on Raw as well. So keeping Edge and Judgment Day away from each other probably a good idea, given that's like the only feud he's had over the past like 2 years. Also on SmackDown, Bobby Lashley. I think this is good. Another challenger for Roman Reigns. Or given that Gunther, spoiler alert for the next category, is heading to Raw, Austin Theory in that U.S. title, or just the U.S. title, because this doesn't happen till Backlash. These rosters don't start till Backlash. Austin Theory could lose that title at Backlash to Bobby Lashley, and he'll be the fighting champion on the SmackDown brand, really elevate it while Roman Reigns is off on vacation or not defending the title on a regular basis. So Bobby Lashley, that's a good pick for SmackDown. I like that. Also heading to SmackDown, the OC AJ Styles made his big return to SmackDown last night, and this is good. Mainly it's good for Michin because she was not really doing a whole lot while the OC were out, really. That just means while AJ Styles was injured, the other three didn't really do anything. So, yeah, no, this is great. SmackDown is the house that AJ Styles built. At least that is what he used to claim back in the day. He had a lot of success there on SmackDown, and you get the obvious matchup here of the OC versus the Bloodline. AJ Styles also could be considered top candidate for that U.S. title, the fighting champion, while Roman is on vacation. Also heading to SmackDown, Damage Control. Again, I was sort of hoping Damage Control would get split in the draft. I thought that would have been more interesting, but evidently they're not doing that. Instead, Io Sky, given that she is the number one contender to Bianca Belair's now SmackDown Women's Championship, I guess this kind of makes sense. Bayley and Bianca have a history. I don't know how much more they want to explore of that, But who knows? They really need to, I'll be honest, WWE should really create a women's mid-card title for both brands. Also, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, the first NXT call-ups in the draft this year. Probably the first call-up in a while since maybe Solo Sikoa back in September, I think. This is great. They had the whole room of NXT, the draft pool from NXT, and I kind of feel like nobody actually knew what was going to happen here. And so they got drafted, and there was all sorts of real emotion there. So that was really cool. Yeah, I think this is a huge boost to the women's division, especially the women's tag team division. If they make that its own thing, and then maybe they introduce a women's mid-card title at some point. Hopefully they're going to do a lot of interesting creative things after Backlash when these new rosters set in. That's one thing to keep in mind, is that Triple H never had his own roster the way he wants it. And I feel like this is him sort of sorting that out, moving the pieces into place, and then they'll go from there. Let's talk about Raw. This is who Raw got, of course, with the first pick. They took Cody Rhodes, and then they took Becky Lynch after him. Cody Rhodes, probably the most it's definitely the most over face in WWE. You could claim Sami Zayn or Seth Rollins as well, but Cody Rhodes, top guy there on Raw. I hope they kind of keep him away for now from the World Heavyweight Championship picture, just because I feel like that should be a Seth Rollins thing. Yeah, it would definitely come off as a consolation prize, that World Heavyweight Championship, if Cody won that. His eyes should remain on the prize. It should still be Roman Reigns, and they can give him a bunch of feuds in the meantime. I'll be honest with you. I'd kind of prefer Cody Rhodes go after the Intercontinental Championship and Gunther than the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't know why. It just seems cooler. Speaking of Gunther, of course, him and Imperium landed on Raw as well. I love this move. I think this is an outstanding move. I think the Cody one is fine. I kind of would have preferred him to go to SmackDown, but I get keeping him and Roman separate. Why wouldn't he be going after Roman? They're not going to do that till WrestleMania next year. Getting back to, Becky Lynch, good move. It's fine. Seth Rollins has got to be on Raw because he's going to be the first World Heavyweight Champion. So Becky Lynch being there on Raw makes a lot of sense. Why change a good thing? Imperium Gunther. I love this because Raw is a longer show. You need longer matches, more matches for Gunther. I think that's awesome. Yeah, and that's going to be a loaded title scene for both the Intercontinental and the World Heavyweight Championship, because Seth Rollins said, I want to be a fighting champion. So you're going to have a strong face World Heavyweight Champion and a strong heel Intercontinental Champion, because I don't think Gunther's going to lose that title anytime soon. Matt Riddle stays on Raw as well. He can't challenge Roman Reigns for the world title anyway, so, I mean, this makes sense. Drew McIntyre heads to Raw. I love this for Drew McIntyre. Hopefully he gets a shot at that World Heavyweight Championship. He never got to defend his WWE title in front of fans, which really sucked. And so I think he'd be a great candidate for that World Heavyweight Champion. The Miz, I don't like this move. Miz TV is the most boring aspect of Raw. Put him over on SmackDown where there's less time. You have to be more efficient. So Miz segments would have to be shorter there. Just keeping him on Raw. It's just every time Miz shows up on Raw, I'm like, God damn, this is going to be like 15 minutes of my time where he's just going to be talking and I'm going to get bored. Then they're going to go to commercial and a recap package. So it's like a half hour of my life that I've wasted. Shinsuke Nakamura heads to Raw. This is awesome for one main reason. Gunther versus Shinsuke Nakamura. That's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see that. Indy Hartwell, the NXT Women's Champion, has been drafted to Raw as well. I don't know what her deal is with the walking boot, so it might be a little bit of time before we see her there. I don't know how long, because she busted up her leg in that triple threat match at Spring Breakin'. But that's great for her. She's gonna be reunited with the Way, I would imagine. So that's Raw. I thought it was pretty good. I thought these picks, for the most part, make a lot of sense. Let's talk about the supplementary draft from today on the SmackDown Lowdown. Here they are. Raw loaded up. Raw, I was talking to Larson about this on text message, and he was like, yeah, it's probably because usually Raw gets 3 picks to SmackDown's 2 picks. Raw's a longer show, so they load that up more. But good Lord, look at this. SmackDown basically got nothing here. They got nothing. They got Hit Row and Lacey Evans. That is, you might as well just not have anybody, because that's a whole lot of nothing. Meanwhile, Raw, good for Apollo Crews, gets to go back to main roster. That's awesome. JD McDonough got called up, so that's awesome for him. Again, a lot of really good wrestlers on the Raw brand now. You got that 3 hours, fill it with wrestling. I think that's kind of awesome. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, they've emerged as a really great tag team in the women's tag division, so I like that. I like them staying together as a team. I think that's cool. It kind of doesn't matter where they go because the tag team titles in the women's division are cross-brand, same as the men's. Zoe Stark gets called up to Raw. No-brainer. Totally saw this one happening. That's awesome for her. Maxim Male Models head to Raw. I fully expect Alpha Academy to go to Raw as well, too, because they're going to keep on doing the comedy bit with Otis and Maxine Dupree and all that. Candice LeRae stays on Raw. She's part of the way. They're going to do that again. Dexter Lumis, same with him. His wife is coming to Raw. We all know that's going down. And then the Viking Raiders, which is kind of interesting because on SmackDown, AJ Styles and the OC sort of did a thing with them. Maybe they'll have a match at Backlash or maybe I don't know, maybe on Raw this week. I don't know. But that's not going to be like a long-standing feud, the Viking Raiders. But that wouldn't make any sense anyways because Viking Raiders don't have a solo guy like AJ Styles. So anyways, Viking Raiders go to Raw because they were on SmackDown, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. They're good wrestlers. They're really good wrestlers. They just never do anything with those guys. They're enhancement talent, basically. They're depth guys, as we see over there going in Raw. Anyways, there you go. There's your 2023 draft night 1 and night 1.B, 1.2, or whatever, 1.5, whatever it is, with a supplemental draft. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you like these picks? Did the draft suck so far? I think it's been all right. I see a lot of negativity on Twitter, but that's sort of what Twitter's for anyways. Do me a favor, man. Hit this thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. We'll see you over this video over here.